There is this highly specific but just completely universal moment of panic that hits whenever you try to learn something totally new.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it doesn't even matter if you're staring at some, unfamiliar software interface at a new job, or trying to figure out chords on a guitar, or...
Or staring blankly at a native speaker of a language you're trying to learn.
Yes, exactly. It's that exact moment where your brain just kind of short circuits, and this little voice whispers, you are never going to get this. Just quit.
It's a very loud, very persuasive little voice, honestly.
It really is.
And, well, from a neurological standpoint, it is literally the sound of your brain experiencing cognitive overload.
Oh, really? So it's a physical thing?
Totally physical. Your brain is expending just an immense amount of caloric energy trying to process all these unfamiliar patterns. And, because the human brain is inherently designed to conserve energy.
It wants to shut down.
Right. It essentially begs you to return to the comfort of what you already know.
Well, that urge to quit is exactly what we're dismantling today in this deep dive.
I'm very excited for this one.
Yeah, so we got our hands on a transcript from an educational series called Simple English Talks. Specifically, we're looking at an installment focused on the theme of never quitting when learning a language.
Which is a huge hurdle for so many people.
Massive. And, while the explicit focus here is on English language acquisition, like how to stay motivated, how to practice, how to actually speak to people, the psychological frameworks they use are, well, they're essentially a masterclass in how to conquer any overwhelming new skill.
What's fascinating here is how universal these strategies are. I mean, we're going to look at the underlying mechanics of these linguistic mindsets and really examine why they physically change our brains.
Yeah, because whether you're trying to learn English or, a new coding language, it's the same brain, right?
Exactly. The psychological tricks required to master English grammar are the exact same cognitive tools you need to figure out a new set of responsibilities at work.
So whether you are currently grinding through vocabulary flashcards right now, or tackling a new technical skill to get a promotion, or, you're just endlessly fascinated by the weird, wonderful mechanics of human learning, there is definitely something in here for you.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's unpack this. Material starts right at the foundational level, which is the learner's internal narrative.
Right. The stories we tell ourselves.
Because before you can memorize a single rule, you really have to patch the leaks in your own mindset to prevent yourself from just walking away on day 2.
And day 2 is notoriously dangerous.
Is it? Worse than day 1?
Oh, by far. Because, day 1 is driven by the dopamine hit of novelty and excitement.
Oh, right. You buy the new notebook, you download the app.
Exactly. But by day 2, that novelty wears off, and the reality of the slow, arduous process really sets in.
So to combat that, the source introduces this massive mental shift right away. And it all hinges on a single 3-letter word.
Just one word.
Just one. It's the word yet. The framework suggests we need to look at how we phrase our negative thoughts. So instead of saying, I don't speak English well, or I don't understand this software, you are instructed to append yet to the end of those thoughts.
I don't speak English well yet.
Right. I don't understand everything yet.
What's fascinating here is the immediate psychological pivot that one word forces.
How do you mean?
Well, when you say, I can't do this, you are making a definitive statement about your identity and your permanent capabilities.
Like a closed loop.
Exactly. The brain accepts it as a permanent fact and just stops looking for solutions. But the moment you append yet to that sentence, you completely change the temporal landscape of your learning.
Wow, the temporal landscape.
Yeah, you transform a permanent deficit into a temporary state.
It's like a software update for your internal dialogue.
I like that.
Like saying, I can't throws a fatal error code in your brain, right? It just shuts down the entire program.
Yeah.
But adding yet turns it into an infinite loop.
Yeah.
The program just keeps running in the background, knowing the solution is out there, and it just hasn't computed it yet.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. It keeps the cognitive machinery running. It removes the crippling pressure of immediate perfection.
Right.
And to support this, the transcript also champions very simple declarative identity statements. Things like, I am learning English slowly, or I am learning slowly with videos.
Okay, wait, I've got to challenge this a bit, though.
Oh, for it.
Because on the surface, walking around telling yourself, I am learning slowly, kind of feels like giving yourself permission to slack off.
I can see how it sounds that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, how does validating a slow pace not just kill your momentum? If you want to master a daunting task, shouldn't you be demanding rapid progress?
It seems completely counterintuitive, I know. But demanding rapid progress is actually what causes most people to quit.
Really?
Yeah. If we look at the mechanics of motivation, people give up because the gap between where they are and their expectation of where they, should be is too wide.
Ah, the expectation gap.
Exactly. When that gap is huge, your brain releases stress hormones like cortisol.
Just makes you feel awful.
Right. So acknowledging that the process is inherently slow and saying it out loud resets your baseline to reality.
I am learning slowly.
By saying that, you tell your brain, this is supposed to be hard, and my current pace is exactly where I am supposed to be.
Oh, wow. So it neutralizes the shame of not being perfect.
Yes, and it keeps the dopamine reward system functioning for small wins.
It prevents that expectation gap from swallowing you whole. That's incredibly powerful.
And really is the foundation.
So, okay, we've patched the fatal error code in our internal dialogue with yet, and we've set a realistic baseline. But survival isn't momentum.
No, it's just the starting line.
Right, we need a motor.
Mm.
You can't just survive the struggle. You have to actively drive your daily progress.
Which requires architecture. Motivation isn't just a vague feeling of wanting to do something.
Right, the material makes it really clear that learners must explicitly articulate their why.
Yes. Why are you putting yourself through this?
Are they trying to secure a better job? Do they need it to travel? Or are they learning simply for the love of it?
The intention matters.
It does, and they run through practical examples of stating these goals and even offer a nice little tip on the difference between formal and informal structures.
Like writing I want to versus saying I wanna in daily conversation.
Exactly. But then they quickly follow that up with a directive that feels, honestly, like jumping into the deep end.
The internal immersion.
Yes. They explicitly tell the learner, think in English. Instead of formulating a thought in your native language and then translating it in your head, you should try to form simple thoughts directly in the new language.
This is a monumental threshold in any type of acquisition.
But wait, is that like trying to force yourself to dream in a new language before you can even properly speak it? It sounds so hard.
It is hard, but there is a very specific biological reason for it. It comes down to working memory.
How so?
Well, your brain's working memory, its RAM, essentially, can only hold about 4 to 7 chunks of information at any given time.
Okay, 4 to 7 chunks. Got it.
When you translate, your brain is doing quadruple the work.
Oh, because of the extra steps.
Exactly. It has to conceptualize the idea, map it to your native vocabulary, run it through your native grammar rules, find the equivalent new vocabulary, map it to the new grammar rules, and then finally produce the output.
Wow.
You are instantly maxing out your cognitive RAM. It's a massive traffic jam in your head.
That makes so much sense. If you are learning coding right now, it's like trying to write a Python script by translating it line by line from C++ in your head.
Perfect analogy.
No wonder people talk about feeling physically exhausted after a language class. It's like trying to run a high-end video game on a 10-year-old laptop.
Precisely. It overheats the system.
So how does thinking directly in the language fix that?
By forcing yourself to form simple thoughts directly in the target language, even if it's just looking at your coffee cup and thinking, this is hot,
Yeah.
you bypass that mental lag.
You skip the translation step.
Right. You stop maxing out your RAM. You start building direct neural pathways to the new skill, rather than always taking that exhausting detour through your foundational knowledge.
That is brilliant.
And tying it back to our previous point, if your why is strong, you will be much more willing to push through the initial discomfort of that internal immersion process.
Because it is definitely uncomfortable at first. There's also a crucial reminder here in the source to never compare your speed of learning to others.
Essential. Everyone builds those neural pathways at a different rate.
Okay, so you've optimized your internal thoughts, you've got your why, and you are efficiently managing your cognitive RAM in your solitary practice.
You're doing great in your bedroom.
Right, but the second another human being looks at you and expects an answer, all that bedroom practice goes completely out the window.
It vanishes.
Why does social pressure completely override our cognitive prep like that?
Because social interaction introduces social risk, which triggers our fight or flight response.
Panic.
Exactly. The fear of sounding foolish causes a spike in adrenaline and cortisol, which physically impairs access to that very working memory we just talked about.
Which brings us to the really practical tactics in the source for manufacturing confidence during real-world conversations.
Yes, the survival tactics.
Because knowing the rules in a textbook is completely different from ordering food or, speaking up in a high-stakes meeting.
Completely different skill set.
The core advice here is that tone and pacing matter immensely. You are instructed to speak clearly and, most importantly, to speak slowly.
Deliberate pacing projects confidence, even if the underlying vocabulary or skill set is actually really basic.
I always think of it like playing a musical instrument.
Oh, I like that. How so?
Well, you don't have to play a complex song at lightning speed to sound good. If you try to rush it, you stumble, you hit the wrong notes, and it just sounds chaotic.
Right, it's messy.
But playing those same exact notes slowly, with the right tone and intention, actually makes you sound incredibly in control.
That's a great way to put it.
But there is another tactic in here regarding interactions that I found really fascinating, and it has to do with how we apologize.
The reframing of the apology. This is huge.
Right. The material strictly advises against saying, "Sorry, my English is bad."
Do not say that.
Instead, it instructs learners to say, "Sorry, my English is not perfect."
Which is such a subtle but powerful shift.
See, I always used to apologize for my bad Spanish when I was traveling. I thought I was just being polite and, deferential.
Most people do.
But this framework is arguing that saying, "My English is bad," is actually self-sabotage. So what does this all mean for the listener who is terrified of sounding foolish? Isn't "my English is not perfect"? Basically just semantics.
It might seem like semantics on paper, right?
Well,
But in a social dynamic, it completely changes the psychological power structure of the conversation.
okay, let's dissect it.
When you say, my English is bad, you are putting yourself in a position of deficit and shame. You are essentially apologizing for your presence and asking the other person to lower their expectations to the floor. It completely undermines your authority.
You're basically painting yourself as a burden to the listener.
Exactly. But when you say, my English is not perfect, you establish something entirely different.
What's that?
You establish that you are a competent, capable communicator who is simply managing a complex, ongoing task. It commands respect rather than pity.
Wow.
It signals to the listener, I am doing something difficult, I hold myself to a standard, and while I may not hit perfection today, I am actively engaging with you. It places you in a position of strength.
Position of strength. I love that. And to back up that position, there are also what we might call polite stall tactics mentioned in the source.
Yes, the stall tactics are great.
Phrases like, can you repeat that, please? Or can you speak slowly? Asking these questions isn't framed as a failure to understand.
Not at all.
It's framed as an empowering tool to manage the flow of the interaction.
Asking someone to slow down puts you in the driver's seat. It shows you value the communication enough to ensure you process it correctly.
Which perfectly aligns with the ultimate rule for real-world interactions highlighted in the text. Communication is more important than perfection.
A golden rule.
I think we need to dig into the why of that, though. We are told all the time that communication beats perfection, but why is that functionally true? Why don't we need perfect grammar to be understood?
Well, because human beings are incredible pattern recognition machines. We are remarkably adept at filling in contextual gaps.
We just guess the rest.
Basically, if you provide someone with roughly 60% of the correct vocabulary and context, their brain will subconsciously autocomplete the rest.
Really? 60%?
Yeah, you don't need perfect grammar because the listener's brain is automatically doing half the heavy lifting for you.
That is so comforting.
Language is fundamentally a tool for connection, not some solitary academic exercise. If you convey the core meaning, the interaction is a success.
Right. If we accept that the other person's brain is doing half the work, we have to accept that we are inevitably going to hand them some broken, imperfect sentences.
It's unavoidable.
Which is why the final section of this material is so illuminating. It pulls back the curtain on why specific mistakes happen, so learners can stop feeling this deep sense of personal failure when they inevitably trip up.
Understanding the anatomy of an error strips away the frustration.
How so?
Well, when you know why a machine is broken, you don't take it personally, right? You just troubleshoot it.
That's very true. So they highlight a few common grammatical pitfalls in the text. Things like saying, I am agree, instead of the correct I agree.
Very common.
Or saying he go to school instead of he goes to school. Or another classic, I very like English, instead of I really like English.
I see these all the time.
And the root cause of almost all of these persistent errors is the trap of direct translation.
And this ties directly back to our earlier discussion about the RAM limit and thinking in the target language.
Right, the quadruple work.
When you translate directly from your native language to a new one word for word, you are overlaying the structural blueprint of one system onto the components of another. It rarely works smoothly.
There is a highly relatable, genuinely funny anecdote shared by one of the speakers in the source about this exact problem.
Oh, I love this part.
They were trying to tell people their age, and they literally translated the phrasing from their native language.
Right.
So instead of saying, I am 20 years old, they confidently announced to the room, I am having 20 years.
Which is amazing.
Which, of course, caused everyone to laugh. The having 20 years mistake is amazing. It really exposes direct translation as the ultimate trapdoor in learning a new skill, doesn't it?
It is the perfect illustration of the issue.
Because you think you're using the right formula, you have the right numbers, you have the right words, but the underlying logic of the language is totally different.
Yeah.
Like if you are learning a new software platform at work and you keep aggressively clicking where the old save button used to be, you are doing the exact same thing. You're applying old logic to a new environment and watching it crash.
Yes. And if we look at the linguistic relativity of the having 20 years mistake, it shows that different languages actually map reality differently.
Wait, map reality?
Yeah. Think about it. In English, age is conceptualized as a state of being. You are a certain age.
Right, I am.
But in many other languages, age is conceptualized as a possession. It is an accumulation of time that you have.
Oh, wow.
So the speaker wasn't just using the wrong verb. They were translating a fundamentally different conceptual framework of time and human existence into English.
That is wild to think about. You aren't just learning new vocabulary words. You are learning an entirely new way to categorize reality.
Which is precisely why making these mistakes, and even being laughed at in a good-natured way, is not a failure.
It's not.
No, it is a vital, necessary mechanism for learning. When everyone laughed at, I'm having 20 years, it instantly highlighted that structural difference for the learner.
It flagged the error.
Mistakes are the boundary markers that show you exactly where the rules of your native system end and the rules of the new system begin.
You literally cannot find the boundaries of a new language or a new software or a new skill until you bump into them and make a mistake.
You have to bump into the walls to know where the room is.
Once you realize that, the fear of making a mistake kind of evaporates. It transforms from a source of shame into a necessary data point.
A critical data point. The transcript actually closes this section by having the learner rapidly choose between correct and incorrect structures out loud.
Right, to practice.
It reinforces that bumping into those boundaries and actively correcting course is the only way to eventually smooth out those translation errors and build the new neural pathways.
Well, we have covered some serious cognitive ground today, pulling from what, on the surface looked like a simple English lesson. Let's recap the journey of this deep dive.
Let's do it.
We started by looking at the software update of the word yet, installing that infinite loop in your brain to turn a permanent failure into a temporary solvable struggle.
From there, we examined the mechanics of motivation. We talked about resetting the expectation gap by validating a slow pace.
And managing your brain's working memory limit by thinking directly in the new language to bypass translation fatigue.
Yes. Then we tackled the terrifying reality of social pressure.
Oh, yeah. We looked at how to shift the power dynamics of a conversation by refusing to say, my English is bad, positioning ourselves as competent communicators, and leaning on the fact that human brains will autocomplete our imperfect sentences.
And finally, we embraced the anatomy of mistakes. We explored how the trap of direct translation reveals that different systems map the world differently, and why bumping into those conceptual boundaries is the only true way to map the new territory.
The connection we want you, the listener, to walk away with is that whether you are actually practicing vocabulary for 10 minutes a day, trying to learn Python, picking up a paintbrush for the first time, or trying to master any other daunting skill that makes your brain scream at you to quit, the core scientific truth remains the same.
Small, imperfect, continuous steps will always beat doing nothing.
Your brain will adapt, the neural pathways will form. You just have to feed the system.
Exactly. Keep the system running.
The material we reviewed today ends by asking the audience, what will you do today to practice? But I want to challenge you to take that a step further.
Oh, I like where this is going.
We've spent this entire time unpacking how demanding immediate perfection is just a cognitive illusion. It's a trap that spikes our cortisol and holds us back from speaking up, from pressing a new button, from having that difficult conversation.
It really is an illusion.
So looking at your own life right now,
Yeah.
where else are you staying silent just because you feel you aren't fluent yet?
That is the ultimate question to explore.
Keep practicing. Keep mapping those boundaries. And whatever you do, don't let the fear of a mistake keep you quiet. Until next time.